Hello, everybody. We are super excited to be here and that you are here, and there's so many of you. And as you can see, the location is awesome, and that's why we have to say a big thank you to the Stiftung Planetarium Berlin, mainly to Georgios Mavrikos, who made this possible. It's a rather spontaneous action, to be honest. We also have to thank Derivative, of course, who gave 2 licenses to the Dome to enable the real-time system. And of course, Markus Heckmann, who fiddled in the deal. Of course, this is not going to be the regular Touch Designer Roundtable. Today we're going to focus a bit on the Dome. The Dome is a medium, and how you actually get content on the Dome, because I'm sure, just as you're all really keen on putting content on a Dome and on such a nice spatial sound system. That's why we're going to hear from Georgios Mavrikos about the Dome. We're going to hear from Carlos Serrano about a piece that he built for the Dome in this process, and we're going to hear from Timo Bittner from the Spatial Media Lab about the spatial audio system here. But because you are so many gathered here, I can't help to do a bit of shameless self-advertising. So we've been working hard to put together a program for this year, and for the first time we want to try to really have a track, which is like a semester. We call it the summer season. It's still in the making. There'll be a Touch Designer beginner course. It's going to go from April to July with weekly sessions. It's going to be taught by Nima Ghazistani and myself. There's going to be a VVV beginners course, which runs in parallel, taught by Rosie Grillmeier and Christoph Kiermeier. So this is to get people started for the beginners in the room. In parallel, we're going to have an intermediate track where I'm very proud to be able to announce the first teachers. So there's going to be Fanta, Josef Pelz, Lucas Morgan, Tommy Etkin, Moritz Hilscher, Daniel Molnar, Wieland Hilker, Bilam Czepe, myself, and maybe a surprise guest. We furthermore working on to make workshops together with the Planetarium about creating content for the Dome, about exploring real-time possibilities in the Dome. The VVV guys are going to have an intermediate track which is going to focus on VL Fuse, which I've written wrong. It's not an iced tea, it's like a fuse. Taught by Nathan Zinyalia, Carl McLean, and Christian Rieckhoff, the Fuse project. You might know Carl McLean is one of the technical masterminds behind the Rafik Anadol stuff. So maybe you've recently watched the Elbus tutorial about how to make particles like Rafik Anadol. It wasn't quite there yet, but there it's a bit closer. And then of course there's going to be advanced VVV Gamma workshops taught by the V4 group themselves, and all of that's going to start in April. I'm going to finish around July. When that works well, we're going to do a winter season. Also, we teamed up with CablesGL, which you might know, the visual programming tool which runs in the browser and allows you to make content for the browser. So we're going to host a meetup, and we're working on a workshop with Tom Kombüchen and his fellow developers. So that's going to start soon. And last but not least, already next week, we're going to host the Spatial Media Lab meetup, which is run by Timo and his compagnon. Sorry, I black out on the name, but he's going to tell you. And that's it with the advertising. Now I'm very happy that I can introduce to you the first speaker, which is Georgios Mavrikos. He's the senior production engineer here at the Dome. But as we have learned, he's much more than that. He's passionate about creating content for the Dome. He has created tons of shows, and he wants to create tons of shows more, but he also wants to invite all of us to create shows and content for the Dome. And that's part of why we're here, because he's keen to meet the community. We think the community is keen to meet him. and the dome. And he's going to introduce this beast to us now, hopefully. And there he is.
Hi, everybody. I'm not used to speak in front of 100 people because normally I'm behind the scenes or trying to connect with people. I think you said everything mostly. I worked the last 18 years in planetariums. And I think this era, there's so many tools, there's so many people involved in art. It's very exciting, actually, from when I started working in the dorm and trying to see the difference of having alternative content beyond planets, stars, and everything. So planetariums are used actually from 60s. I don't know if anybody here is aware of Jordan Belson's work. It was a great inspiration for me, the Vortex series that he did in Morrison Planetarium in San Francisco in '61 till the 70s, I think, to actually create content, to create alternative content in the dome. And I did my first music show in Athens, where I was working in the planetarium in 2012. And that was the spark actually to come in Berlin, because I thought, oh, I'm going to meet more creative people, which actually by the time it happens, and it's part of my work, let's say, to interconnect people, meet people, more people, and give the opportunity to people to have access to the dome. Because the domes is kind of like a sacred community, or it was till recently, but it starts slowly to open up. And here is a foundation. There is the willingness to see different content, science content also, educational content, not only artistic content, but see more stuff on the dome. And if you don't democratize the medium and you keep it isolated and you don't bring more people, give the freedom to people to experiment with the dome, you will never have the opportunity to have more content as you want. Because creating pre-rendered content, because that's what we normally play, it demands too many resources, too many working hours, and mainly you can do up to 2 productions, big productions per year, and then you have to reinvent yourself when you have a music show to find free stuff. And that's where the opportunity came for us when we collaborated with Berlin FSPL. The management managed to secure actually all the hardware we used, all the hardware I used to produce the 2 new Infinity projects for 2020 and 2021. And that gave us the opportunity to have a live system, the capturing system, which I will explain to you later, how it works. A small dome that you can actually do post-production before you came to the big dome, which is part of my dream of having a small residency or people working. That's why I asked Markus Heckman to give me 2 licenses, so I can have people working on the small dome, and then we can have some time seeing the stuff or doing a show actually after they finish in the production. And I'm open to collaborations. I'm actually scouting internet. That's how I met Joseph Peltz, which he helped me a lot. He introduced me to the touch designer, software, people. We started collaborating on different projects, also with Spatial Audio, with Timo, with Spatial Media Lab. That's it, mainly. So you're welcome to contact me. Maybe there's some people here, like Bilam. Where is Bilam? I don't... Hi, Bilam. I never met him in life, but we're supposed to meet to have content here. So basically that's it. I just wanted to show you a little bit of the system. We use, we have 10 projections here. The dome is 23 meters. We use clusters of computers, 10 clusters. Each computer goes to one projector. Let me show you my grid, I wish. Normally I'm solving the technical issues, so give me a second. It's a switch. Yes, you have the live system on. I have to take it out, basically. I will do it. Sorry for the interruption. So now we see the grid. And I will beat each computer. Each computer represents one projector. And they sent in, we're working with blending masks. You can see the boundaries of each projector. For the seaming between the projectors, there is a PNG, actually, that is a blending mask for the two projectors. And mainly we play videos, or we're using the real time of the system, which is to move in space in time back and forth. So basically, the donation of Berlin Festspiel was a live computer, a server with an RTX 6000, which it's kind of powerful, I would say, and the data path capture cards, which are installed in one of our clusters. And it's kind of tedious to explain to you, because actually there is 3 video cards in one system. In each one of the computers, the signal flows from the live computer to the video card, through the video card to the capture card, and from there to a sync card that syncs all the computers together. So you have not any sync issues. We currently, due to the restrictions of NDI to 4K 30 frames per second, but I think in September this is going to change, at least for 60 frames per second, hopefully. I'm not sure about it. And we're using Touch Designer, Resolume, whatever application you need. I'm looking forward to work with Unreal Engine. Carlos is going to talk today. And I'm willing to see more and more Unreal Engine used, and more Touch Designer projects, because it's kind of new for us. So the space is open. If you have any questions, I would gladly answer.
And I have a microphone through which you can ask those questions.
Somewhere there.
A bit of sports.
Thanks. I want to ask, what is the latency from Touch Designer to the projection?
With this chain, it's big. Because basically from the live system, you have to, I will explain you all, I don't have something to hide. It goes to the computer, from the computer goes to the distributor, from the distributor will go to an optical, a display port to optical, and then you go to the projector. You understand the signal path, there is going to be a latency for sure. I haven't measured it, but it's not so obvious sometimes. Depends on the patch.
Hi, thank you. It's all really fantastic and wonderful. Is there some kind of material one can access, some maps or information in case one wants to experiment with this format before making a suggestion? An SDK?
No, because the systems we are using, they come from ex-military companies that decided to drop their military activities, and it's called Avast Sutherland, which a company who was creating simulations for the American Army, but sold it in General Motors, and they kept only the planetarium. So these companies, mainly, and Carl Zeiss, of course, they are kind of secretive. We're using FFmpeg, but we cannot use FFmpeg, let's say, because we have to go through the applications that they're using. They have certain plugins, so I cannot share these. If you want to create something for the DOM, like a patch, there's many people that work here, like Joseph. You can ask him. I think one of the concepts we have between all the people we're collaborating here is to share the information. So if you can approach Joseph and maybe he can give you a patch and explain you more regarding Touch Designer. Regarding the technical part, you can test it. You can come. You can call me and say, oh, I did this. George, can I come and test it? You have an hour and I will be here. And you can test your patch. That's easy, actually. It's, guys, you know what? Many people thinking about money, how, oh, your time, this and that. If you don't devote personal time above your limits, and I tell you, we are 5, 6 people for audio and Joseph that we devoted before COVID time, we devoted due to COVID time, after COVID time, we're always searching by ourselves. So we set the boundaries for ourselves, and if I don't experiment, if I don't meet each one of you different times, I will not have a pool of people that can create different kind of things, okay? And different perspective, because what you're creating, it's about perspective, what the audience perspective. And I'm part of the audience. See me as your audience. I can suggest things. That's my job, actually, about production, okay? I'm not to judge if it's artistically amazing. I'm not to judge you technically if you are good. I'm here to help the person develop something good. So if you have the time or you want to experiment in something and you need a real DOM or you need a small DOM, access to a DOM, yes, I'm here.
Yep, thanks. No, the other side.
Okay.
Another question.
Oh, you have another question? I'm sorry.
No, another one is speaking. It's
okay.
a dome. A fairly simple question. How many pixels can you address via this projection? By hopefully 60 frames per second in September.
That's a very difficult question. Basically, you know what? It's based on the projectors. Here we have a Carl Zeiss Velvet. Currently, there are lamps. They're going to be changed in May. They're going to be LED, kind of like same with technology with the lasers. Theoretically, you go up to 60K, but the motto of Zeiss is that they have a special lens. That's what they do, actually. They create lenses. So they have the Digicon lens, and is it a marketing trick? I cannot say that to you or not. They say that actually the pixel doesn't matter. It's about the lens, the clarity of the lens, what it can produce through the fisheye lens they create. So everything, you know, it has some drawbacks. Every projection system has its drawback. Unfortunately here, or fortunately, we have this 4 million device, which is an analog star machine. It's called Universarium. And we need black. We need the black. And the Zeiss projector, they are very good at black. They are not the amazing thing in colors. You cannot have the color representation you want. Sometimes you have to play too much with gamma, with digital vibrance, etc. But you will have amazing black. If you go to laser projectors like Christie's, you're going to see the black is going to be actually gray. So for me, after so many years, I will tell you the only projector that I saw that it has a balance, okay, it was some Barcos that they had, it was RGB, and I had to tune up every day each in different color and align it. But it has a perfect balance. I think the laser projector have this kind of problem still, but I'm sure in some years it's going to be changed. And actually, I don't know if the projectors in the planetariums will exist more than a decade, because there is already spaces created, I don't know if you are aware, with LED. So actually, the dome surface, it's filled with LEDs, and actually this is a projection system. There is a huge space created in Las Vegas. It's opening this year. It's called Sphere, and it has a 16,000 by something LED dome, and it's for 12,000 people. So the planetarium goes above a planetarium, a conventional planetarium. That's why the planetariums have to open, guys.
But
Because if the planetarium stay, theoretically here it's 16K. This, I don't know if you can achieve it. I will say you can achieve 8K with 60 FPS. But you know, this is very theoretical. I can see something in 2K, in black and white, and it can be better than 8K. I don't think that many people understand the difference between 4K, 8K. Like if you bring me a person, he has to have the best eyes in the world and say to me, you know what, this is an 8K material and this is 4K in 60 frames. I doubt, personally. I don't want to get it more extreme, I tell you this. Okay, because I've seen 8K material very bad here, and it was based on how it was produced. It was bad. So if you have a very good 4K, it will be better than the 8K. Simple. Run it in 60, in 30, whatever you want. It's based on the concept of how you visualize your work, I think. It's not about the technology, the pixels, the projection system. This is technical details that you find people like me and you tell them, oh, I don't like it. I want it like this. Can you change it for me? And I help you to do that.
But Georgios, when we talk the touch designer system, then we have a resolution for the Dome Master that we're sending, right?
Yes.
That is...
The resolution we have, I told it before, it's 4K, it's 3840 actually, because we use Mosaic. As the system is built, we use the Mosaic from NVIDIA. So we take two signals of 3840 by 260. We make a custom resolution. We lower the resolution to 1920. So we create a signal of 3840 by 3840. The limitation for the FPS is in NDI, because the system that we're using a very old NDI API. And that's the change when we buy a new system, because we cannot upgrade with our current system the software. The software, which is called Digistar, it's using the new NDI API. And this goes up to 8K, actually, theoretically to 30 FPS, 4K to 60 and even more.
Just to follow up, if lower the resolution, does this affect latency somehow? So if lower resolution, would it decrease latency maybe?
Yes, in color, of course. All this information, when you're passing information from such a huge chain, yes, it does. But from what I see from patches that we created with Joseph, I see the GPU part of the computer, it's like 10%, 15%. What affects the latency and the FPS, of course, and how stable the system is how much colors you add. The color, the information that passing through the cabling till it reaches the projector, it of course affects the latency. But basically, I would say the latency is bigger here because of this chain, of how the system is created. But I didn't have an option, you know. Somebody gave me something, for free, and I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I did it by myself. I installed everything by myself with no information. So it took me, like I spent the Corona times, we struggle a bit because Touch Designer doesn't let you inside the program to choose which GPU you have to run about. So all this back and forth, actually I'm very thankful to Joseph, who put too much effort finding information, testing the information. We devoted so many hours to see the system running stable, honestly. And now the planetarium actually implemented the system for the concerts, but they're using Resolume, which I'm not interested, to be honest with you. Okay? Except if somebody of you is interested and can do it, you're welcome to use it.
Cool. Maybe another follow-up question. I was wondering, is there maybe a multi-channel audio system in here on top?
Yes. I didn't talk about, I wanted to let my friend Timo to talk about from Spatial Media Lab. So here we have a 48 speaker system with 4 subs that are behind me. We're using SPAT as the main application. We're using the IM plugins also. The guys created, we did a concert here in 2018, and we involved musicians, and we gave actually Andrew, my friend Andrew Raman, who is part of the Spatial Media Lab, created a template. So we gave it to the musicians. So when they came here to perform, they already did some of them, to put it like this, the ones that they were really, really interested to learn, they have already done the 90%, 95% of the work. And this is, Timo will tell you, this information is still, and the templates are still available for this, of course, speaker system that we have here. But it can help you also understand the routing and everything. It's a very nice documentation. You can ask the guys to give you the link. Yep.
Hi, Giorgio.
Yes.
You mentioned you guys have a very nice star system from Zeiss, and that it's a closed system. And I'm just curious, to what extent can you control it? And
Yes, through the software. And if I pull the dongle or I change the internet, it doesn't work. So no, I'm joking. So I had, when I came in Berlin in 2014, I had a very nice discussion with Monolake. I brought him here, tell him about this, and he was really excited of the idea of controlling actually, because this has LEDs. We can open it afterwards, and I can open it and show you what exactly I'm talking about. So imagine every star is a small LED inside this machine. It's an amazing machine, okay, for stars. But it's not controllable from anything else. It's only from its own software. Kind of, you can program it, let's say. It's kind of like block-based programming. And it uses so much RS-232 protocols and things like that. And it's totally closed. You cannot actually touch it. Basically, because it costs so much, people will not be also open to say, oh, yes, I want to experiment with your 4 million euro machine. You understand? But also the company is very closed on, and not so open with this. I'm not against Zeiss, but I'm saying as a company is not so open on having access to their systems.
so to understand, the traditional show that you guys have every week with all of the planets and the stars,
Yes, we
How
implement
is that
it in
designed?
all the shows. I'm sorry I interrupt you. In most of our shows, it's a video part. We do kind of live shows. There's a moderator here who speaks in German and explains. And part of the show, it's with this machine, okay, and part is video. Because from Digistar, it's a Python-based program. You can program all the commands you want. You can actually, we connected this machine with our software, so we can send directly commands for playing video, audio, or executing scripts to this machine. And mainly we use it, yes. I used it only once for a concert, but it was for Ian. I don't know if you are familiar with Xenakis. Okay, I did a project with the Searing Foundation, I think, in 2018, and we used only the machine because the person who was performing wanted total darkness and only the stars. And the music is kind of mathematical, let's say. It was kind of a special event. So in shows, I don't implement it basically nowhere. Mostly in intros. You can use it. What is here, and I didn't mention, and somebody asked me about the audio system. The good thing, and it's really triggering for me that I'm really stupid that I forgot to mention, is that we have 6 lasers that cover the whole dome. Okay? And I know that Touch Designer can control lasers. That's super triggering to see visuals and the laser system triggering than actually seeing this machine triggered by any other software, which I doubt.
Thank you.
I have to look.
You have too many
over.
questions, guys.
Yeah, I have
I'm
to look
joking.
to Wieland Hilker, who's the director here, behind the technical desk, what the time says, and take the opportunity to thank Wieland for all the hard work that he has put in. So Wieland, can we have one more question, or do we need to have a break? Yeah, I know that, but when did we start? No more questions?
No more questions.
Okay.
You
Then-
can ask me personally. If you want something, you can come and ask me, and whatever question you have, I can answer it for you.
Then I would say it's time for our traditional question. You're welcome to the bar again. You're welcome to smoke, and you're welcome to get hold of Georgios, the most popular man in the room now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
And after this little break, I'm very much looking forward to have Carlos Serrano presenting a project that he did with Touch Designer for the Dome. Actually, what we're seeing now is also being played by Touch Designer, a 4K texture. And we're especially excited because Carlos was also guest in the first Touch Designer Roundtable that we did. And now, 19 editions later, he's back with another dome situation. So, after the break. the next presentation by Carlos Serrano. Like I said before, was in the first roundtable. He's in this roundtable. It's not going to be the last roundtable. Next one is going to be in February. Hopefully again at an exciting location, which with new possibilities. Carlos comes originally from Colombia, but he chose Berlin as his place. And yeah, Carlos, straight away.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Stefan. Hey everyone. Yeah, Stefan said, I'm Carlos Serrano. I'm a Colombian artist, now based here in Berlin. I really want to take 1 second to say thanks a lot to the Note Institute because they've been supporting me and my work like for a while, and that's very important. And yeah, thanks a lot. And yeah, it's very nice to be back again in the round table. Since Stefan said, I did my first DOM project like 3 years ago, and I presented as one of the first roundtables in Berlin in the Note Institute. So I'm very happy to be back here, presenting now a little bit of my work and what I've been doing so far since that time, also DOM-related projects. So yeah, I also like a lot to do 3D art, especially procedural, organic, 3D related art, and playing around a lot with different softwares like Houdini and Cinema 4D. And after years of playing with that, I discovered then Touch Designer, where it's basically my favorite software to play around when I don't have my full-time job to do or in my free time. Ideally, I try to do it every day, and yeah, like this, what you see here, I've been experimenting lately a lot with RayTK, the library from Tom Atkins, and it's amazing. And yeah, so this is one project that I'm actually showing it today too in the Lighthouse. And one of my friends is going to perform live audio, and I had the pleasure to work with him doing some real-time visuals for him. And yeah, so right now this is happening. Of course, these are some renders I did to pre-visualize and to show you a little bit because I didn't have the chance to be there today. So yeah, right now I have a full-time job and I work in a studio that is called Journey. We actually create virtual experiences and digital experiences connecting humans with brands and what it's called like metaverse or whatever. I love, since I started working with Journey because for me it was also like a playground, learning myself a lot of different real-time tools, especially we use every day in their Unreal Engine. So I had the possibility to grow up a lot into the real-time engines, and not only based on like limited to Touch Designer, which I love, but I also feel like the PBR workflow is not the best there. So that's what I started also working a lot with Unreal Engine. And what I mean with PBR workflows, okay, these projectors are a little bit washed out, but yeah, you easily can throw some volumetric lights and reflections, global illumination, and different things. And all these that you're seeing here, it's play live on a server after we package the projects. So the possibilities are endless with this software. And my whole idea lately has been combining these two amazing, powerful tools to create nice visuals and to have fun playing around. Yeah, as you can see here, I don't only have like volumetric lights and particle system or multiple particle systems, but also like very heavy 3D objects being lighted in real time. That's what I think like Unreal is quite powerful at. Let's see if I can show this video. It was crashing before, but it's kind of like a little bit of the gameplay. Of course, this is not like a final project we did. That's what I'm showing to you. This was one of like my research I did for a clothing brand, of course. And yeah, all you can see here, like not only one particle system, but like I think like 10 different particle systems and volumetric lights. And one very important thing that I like a lot, and I would love to, if some GLSL mastermind wants to collaborate with me, is to try to get vertex animated textures into Touch Designer to play in real time. And that is actually what I'm doing here in Unreal. So as you can see, that sweatshirt and all the clothing that is being shown in that video, it's done in Marvelous Designer. And then I created a workflow that I could throw it through Houdini to bake the simulations as textures. And then you import it into Unreal Engine and everything runs real time because it's being processed by the GPU because all the animation goes through shaders. So that's exactly what I would love to start trying to get into inside Touch Designer. That's what I kind of show all this different stuff. But yeah, let's get to the important things. So yeah, I'm here to talk a little bit more about my latest project that I did in Bogota for a festival called Voltaje. This project is called Reminiscent Delusions, and it's been basically an investigation that I've been, like an ongoing research that I've been dealing with, like, I don't know, for a couple of years since I graduated from my master's. And it's all about like how we as an artist can see how all these artificial intelligence or machine learning models work inside, like under the hoods, inside their guts, to create stories related with that. So it's not sending a prompt and getting an image and saying that you did art, but is kind of like reflecting about that, seeing some memories that the machine goes through, and then create storytelling projects from there as an artwork. So basically, that's what I've been doing with Reminiscent Delusions. Of course, for this one, I started working only in Touch Designer. And lately, I've been incorporating a little bit of Unreal to do some tests and stuff. But for this time in Bogota, everything that you're seeing here, it was done entirely in Touch Designer. So yeah, I managed to do some volumetric lightings and things like this, thanks to the Node Institute course about volumetric lights, and thanks to also the amazing community we have in the derivative like team or whatever, the people who use Touch Designer, because everyone is very open, very kindly to help you around, and they're always pushing a lot of amazing tools that you are able just to go through their website into their community site and download a lot of different tools that you can start playing with to make also your content better, right? In this project, one of the most difficult parts for me was not being there in Bogota while I was developing things. And let's see if I can point. Yeah. So one very important tool that I was using all the time is this called Inside Dome. I think it was developed by someone in SAT Montreal. I don't really remember his name. I'm sorry. I'm going to credit it after that. But yeah, I use it a lot to preview my content, and you can like move around the camera and look through different things on how the distortions are being inside the dome and how your content is really playing, because to design blind for this kind of immersive place or medium, it's very hard. So yeah, that's one of the things that you really need to be very careful about it, and it's like the distortions and where to point the most important part of the dome piece. So sometimes, as I'm sitting here, it's supposed to be the front. In some different planetariums, for example, in Bogota, the front was here on the top. I don't really know in here how it is, but then I will show you a little bit some of the images that I got from there. All of this, I tried to compile some of the patches to run them live here, so I'm going to show you these images, and then we're going to jump into the server to try to check some stuff real time. Yeah. So as you can see, I like to play a lot with particles, noises, movements, and of course some feedbacks to create those like really nice like aurora effects. Yeah, so I think that's it from the presentation side. Let's see if I can jump straight into Touch Designer to play a little bit, to show you some stuff. Yeah. And understand, Bülent. So, can I open my project from it, or can I just open my project from?
Also, if you can open the project.
Yeah.
Wieland, can you open the project?
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. Now, first, I will show the patch a little bit, and then we play it. So as I said before, and it's also very nice that part of the community are here. For example, this patch that I'm using right now here, I'm using one component from Joseph that is here. I think it's quite old, but I really like it because it's very handy, and I've been doing a lot of like super cool and interested like projects with it. Yeah, it's called Rungekute. And it's basically what it does is like it takes your points and lets you play with some vortex forces to create these kind of results. So in here, and what I'm doing is like I usually start always like my particles and the files that I create inside Touch Designer from point clouds or from 3D scans. So if we go here, you can really see like what the 3D scan is, and the source of the particles and how they have been like created. So yeah, I usually take these, modify them a little bit, and before throwing it to the forces and to do different stuff with them, I usually tend to normalize the point clouds because that's way better if you want to control the different ranges and that everything or every patch that you work together and you're going to combine together, they respond to the same parameters, because when I say normalize, of course, it means that it's being clamped or it's being in the range from 0 to 1. So that way, whenever you're going to combine different things inside Touch Designer, you just normalize it. So all of them, all of the parameters run from 0 to 1. There, yeah, basically, yeah, a very simple ULSL shader, I guess. If you check Marcus Heckman tutorial, yeah. Good, thank you. So, and if you check Marcus Heckman class about point clouds, he also, I think, explains how to create the normalization of the point clouds, which I think is quite handy and cool. And yeah, as I always do in my patches, I start with the point clouds right here. Then I create the forces, transformations, go through the render process, and then I really like to play a lot with post effects. That's what it really makes my my own aesthetic to be there, because I've been trying to get into a certain chain of post effects that give me the right visuals that I want and aiming for, or that I'm going through. Yeah, so let me try to play. Can I see the DOM? Like, no presentation? Fuck. Of course. Boah. Okay. Yeah, let me. So yeah, the resolution, of course, is not ideal, but yeah, I was expecting to do this low res. So yeah, there are a couple of different things that I think that are still a work in progress in this DOM to play real time, especially with these things. Sometimes if you just go black and white and crank up a lot of values on the saturation and things, they tend to look much better sometimes. Yeah. Let's see, with color looks much better. Yeah, so when I create my patches or my projects and I work in these audiovisual pieces, I usually create a hero piece and then one thing that is more like a filling layer. So I usually tend to combine 2 layers overlaid or with different compositing things. And as you can see here, this patch is using the vortex velocity component from Joseph. which I find quite cool. And for example, I can put this. So yeah, this is kind of like how I play in real time with it a little bit, and overlaying different things and try to, yeah, that the things that I overlay make sense, of course. Right now I'm just throwing the patches that works here, but yeah. Should we make it black and white? Yeah. Good, I think. Let's see. Of course. Okay, let's see if this. I think, well, I show some stuff if you want to ask some questions, or if we want to go kind of like do this like a back-to-back thing, it will be very cool. So I don't stay in silence all the time. Yeah. Does anyone wants to ask any question or any specific thing that you would like to see, or any tips? It's not a plugin. It's a component that is made by Joseph from the community. He's actually
just to recall the
it's called
component, because it's really tricky to get here, and there is, how do you say it, blind mode.
Yes, definitely. So I think if you just go to the Derivative community website, you can find these components, or through his GitHub, I guess. Another artist I follow a lot, doing very cool things with GLSL to work with my particle systems and things, is Vincent Jose, or I don't know if I'm saying it right, but yeah, you can also check him through. Let me see if I can write here.
how do you find the difference between how it looks in that simulator that you were showing and then in the actual dome? Is it like different in every dome?
Yes, definitely. So that's why, yeah, the third component of if you're creating a dome show, it's test, 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 right? Go there, couple of weeks and start testing, because every system has different projectors and contrast and different things that whenever you create a patch, you're just watching a perfect monitor and screen. Or even like what I use all the time is to use that inside DOM component that I show you, that is also there in the derivative forum, like in the community. And I just switch the camera of that component to use my VR headset. So you're really inside there and you can just like look around and see the real distortion on VR, that I think is quite interesting to see this kind of stuff. Another thing that usually people don't use much and don't see much, but I think they're very cool and powerful sometimes, are the tools from the palette, especially if you go to point clouds. And for example, if I go to the point generator, I can create like sphere. And then if we do some noises, you can already start playing with different like things inside your point cloud systems. Of course, you can animate the transform. Nice. You can animate the transform and the particles start moving, but it's still in tops, right? But then if we just, with the same thing, we just drag the point renderer, then we have our particles there, and then I can come here and say 1280. Let's just try times 2 to see if it's going to run. So right now we have like the point renderer where we can increase the value of this, like the point size and all the different things, because it's based on the arcbolt camera. You can control how to move around the panel and the different things. But the most important part is then if you go to the point renderer inside here and you go in your render mode, you can use the fisheye and one sec. So yeah. So right now we have the particles right there. And let's say, okay, I want to have some feedback edge to make it a bit more interesting. Boom. Boop. I also found that the feedback edge has some issue here. That is always looking for the input number 2, and I want the input number 1 to be there. And then you can play around with the color of the feedback. I think right now it's a little bit too fast, so I can't see anything.
Carlos, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're kind of running out of time.
Yeah, sure. That's what I asked for, if we have any questions or something.
So do we have any final questions before we go into another break?
Yeah, just a small question. You were showing a 3D scan just there. Can you bring in scans there and show it real time?
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I didn't mention it before. So, yeah, this is a PLY file, and if you open your top dialog, and you can look for the point file in, and then in here you can just bring any like 3 scans. Especially the two more used are PLY and XYZ, like the sample ones that we have in Touch Designer. I usually myself use PLYs a lot because I think they're very well optimized, I think. I don't know if that's a good word to say, but yeah, for me they run better than the XYZ. And yeah, if you're curious about the 3D scans, I use photogrammetry technique, and I use my DSLR camera and thousands of pictures and reality capture as a software to create it. Lately, I've been experimenting also with the iPad, which I find it quite nice, but is very, very low quality. The 3D scans and the amount of points I give you. So I really prefer to go with a real photogrammetry software rather than LiDAR. I mean, that's just my opinion. And also because the distribution of the points, how they are onto the 3D scan, they look so much better and irregular on the real photogrammetry software than if you do it with the iPad or the LiDAR scanner. Any other question?
Hi, I have a question because I think a lot of people have the question. You've shown in the end that you use like a fisheye, but it feels like it's still kind of 2D. Then?
Yeah, I think if you are doing it, like, of course, the real thing should be to do like, that's why I didn't want to do it. So yeah, you should go for a cube map and then use the projection top. But yeah, we're kind of getting our way around here in this to try to play real time. So yeah, sometimes the fisheye works very well, especially if you have 2D content.
But
and you model like the dome, like sphere of the dome, project with a real UV map, like well unwrapped, and then you project the 2D content on there and you use the fisheye, then you can have kind of like the concave of the planetarium depending on the degrees it has.
So in your projects, how did you work? Like the dome projects you had?
I usually do the cube map, projection top, and go out with the fisheye after the cube map. But yeah, sometimes the fisheye distortion just works good on 3D, especially if you're going to use particles and fly through them and yeah, move your camera and go around. And yeah, let's see if I can. Open it again.
I was also asked from the tech desk to mention that the real-time system is still a bit work in progress. Sometimes the performance is not as it should be, and there's a team of experts working to figure it out. I don't know why I'm laughing, they're really experts, but we all know them. But maybe we should cut it at this point to not completely drop out of our time plan for our millions of viewers on the internet. So thank you very much, Carlos, for this insight. And for writing this dome system for us. And after a short break, we're going to be back with Timur Bittner, who is working excessively on the spatial audio system in the dome and is a real expert in spatial audio. And he'll explain a little bit how it works and how you can work with it and how it can be connected with Touch Designer. will come from Timo Bittner, part of the Spatial Media Lab. And the news is they're going to have a spatial media meetup next Monday at 7 o'clock happening at the Node Institute in the Wipperstraße 13. And we're very honored to have them. It's happening there and on the internet. But now Timo, who's a well-known expert for spatial audio, is going to talk about the system here and how to use it to us. So please, a warm welcome for Timo Bittner.
Yeah, hi. My name is Timo, as was said often before. I'm part of the Spatial Media Lab, which the name dropped quite some time, and I really want to just tell you what it's about. Like, the Spatial Media Lab is kind of, we created it, I think 4 or 5 years ago, kind of as a demonstration against, bad immersive experiences, or also trying to be part of a solution of it. Like we met on the Tech Open Air and went to the Fraunhofer demo and just went all out and were like, okay, that's a pity. I think this can be done better. And this all started the whole conversation. And what we are trying to do is we want to build a community and create spaces that are free of competition and full of cooperation. Like I don't have any touching points with touch designer myself, but I see, talking to Stefan and Wieland, that like you have a really cool community where it's about sharing and open sourcing stuff. So with the ultimate goal to create better experiences for everyone, and not, hey, this is my patch, you cannot see it because it's cooler than yours, and I cannot share my secrets. And for us, it's really the same. We're product agnostic. We don't care about renderers or whatever. We care about experiences and enabling people to do better experiences, because we see that often a lot of the things we see or hear are limited. Obviously, everything is limited by time, money, knowledge, whatever, but we see that a lot is just lacking because the potential is higher, like the creative potential. When we're working with artists, the ideas are there, but often it's not the knowledge that's there, or someone's missing who can tell you how to get this vision and pull it out of your head so other people can see or hear it. And this is what we want to do, actually, enabling artists with technology they might not understand or know in the first place, but also enabling engineers that are building those tools that are often, they don't know what to do with it. Like I went to labs and universities and they just showed me super cool renderers, stuff, tools, and they're like, yeah, it's here now, but I have no idea what to do with it. So finding the connection parts between those realms, I think it's really crucial to enable better experiences. And the third part is like creating spaces where audiences can actually see and hear them and feel them and enjoy them. Because thanks to George, like I'm working with George, I don't know, I have 5 years now, and we're trying to help cracking this space open, because this is kind of is seen often as a temple of science and a temple of education. But these amazing opportunities we have here, we talked about the mapping system, diving into the audio system, this is a 49.1 speaker system, so we can have an actual real full dome with a lot of speakers that can do really nice things. And yeah, we're trying to enabling this, and within the Spatial Media Lab, we are creating templates and actually building hardware, or trying, like when you can get chips, it's easier. So we made an open source head tracker with the help from Kai, who's kind of a magical mind, who's just building the coolest MIDI stuff just from thin air and building firmware for it. And so we have a head tracker that's open source that works as a class compliant MIDI device. You can just plug into anything that can do class compliant MIDI, and then you can track head tracking, or you can use it as a pointer to point. And it's open source, open hardware, open there, because we don't see the point in making a product there, because everyone should have it. And we were trying to make them at cost, but yeah, the chip crisis just called that off. But we are still on there trying to see when the chips are available again. Yeah, so this is also like a small call to action for you. Like if you want to help us, or think that at parts you need a partner, or don't know, like in the visual realm, the Node Institute is obviously there for us. We right now have more audio people in there, but this is not by design. This is just because that's the people who stuck with us, kind of. And we really want to connect more, because in the end it's the visual and the audio part is both important for a full immersive experience. Yeah, and this for the Spatial Media Lab. And why we are doing it? We actually want to create a Verein this year, so we can also get funding. And we did some events and concerts here already, but yeah, kind of wiggled our way around it, and so we now need like an actual entity to do that correctly. So also there you can stay posted. Oh wait, Wieland. Quickly. Okay, there's this homepage that today looks different. Dark mode on. Okay. Yeah. So here you can see the tracker that's there. It can be controlled via homepage, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I don't need to. We have a knowledge base. We're using Notion for with tools and guidelines where you can actually see, like we have some docs where we tell you, okay, this is how you can approach it first, working in domes. We have here some renderers we tried, and we are constantly trying more, like because we don't want to be locked in by, okay, this is the software you need to use, because we honestly think in the end the renderer is not the defining thing anymore, because there are so many good ones, and in the end what they do is position sounds in space. What they have their ups and downs if you go look deeper, but ultimately it's about the content you want to create. Here we have also a starting template for Ambisonics in Reaper, and yeah, some external resources. So this is about to grow. We will show something later that will also be there, that maybe is more interesting for you at that point. And then let's look at the sound here. So this is a small sound logo we created for one show, and it's supposed to be running before. So I will just let you listen to it. Okay, yeah, it was just the entry logo, basically, for the first moment. And I just want to quickly dive into, okay, what's the process of creating dome pieces or immersive audio pieces? And what's often kind of overlooked is that people start picking a renderer or a software I need to use. And we constantly see that doing that, you're missing the most important steps, because the first thing you need to understand when working in immersive, and it doesn't matter which renderer you're using, you have to rethink how music is constructed, because now we have all this mono stereo, all your instruments are mono instruments, stereo instruments, and you have to go back and see, okay, we now need to think in sound objects. Like I'm playing a guitar or something, and I'm having an object and I'm moving it through a space. And often, like in the real world, there's no stereo. Like you do anything has one source. There's big sources that are bigger than you, and then you have kind of a perception of stereo. But ultimately, any sound comes from one source. And so working with stereo is really counterintuitive and messes up a lot of things later hand, because I can show you really shortly. So there's this part where from our concert, where Toby from Ego Pusher, actually Tobias Preissig, performed here, and he's playing a violin in an Ableton set, and super cool. But this is what's kind of happening, and if we now move that around, you hear the sound moving around. The sub is annoying a bit, but you hear where it's coming from. When I now make this a stereo source, and you see in the visualizer here, that you will not hear like the perception of it, because you will hear it 2 times, and depending on your first impact, you will hear the source from there, or if they are equal away, you will hear like a phantom middle, which is standard for stereo sources that are really similar. Like you have a phantom mono position in the middle, and if you're doing this now, like it's doing something else. This might be interesting. Like all I'm saying now is not, it's guidelines, it's not rules. You can do anything that sounds great in the end, but for us, it's really important that you do things on purpose. And rules and guidelines are there to be bent, but bending them on purpose is better than by accident. Because, yeah, there are happy little accidents, but often it's better if you do stuff on purpose. Yeah, and if you go back then and think about how like a piece is constructed and what are the different objects and what's the narrative, what's the story I want to tell, then you pretty soon often realize that depending on the music you're listening to, it gets boring pretty fast. Because you have your 6 instruments, and in stereo it's super cool, looks great, you can spread them out. But in a dome, it's like if you have 5 things coming from somewhere, it will get used up pretty fast. So for us, what's important is creating immersive experiences. It's a bit different than having a classic stereo concept, because you're part of something and you're not watching something at a screen. And so when you're going through the world, like what I like going through a forest, it's like there are not those 3 sounds that are just flying around. It's a huge amount of tiny sounds that are creating this atmosphere. So for us, it's like, as a guideline, is, hey, think about how to spawn a lot different, small, tiny sounds. We are granulizers or swarms, or like taking a lot of sources that are decorrelated, like that are not really similar, and create then those ambiences around you. And this is actually where the renderers then start to differ. Like, how fast can you create interesting scenes with a lot of tiny objects? With other renderers, it's like, okay, you can have 16 inputs or 32, and it's like, it gets boring really fast. This is why we like ambisonics to work with, and all stuff we do here is often comes back to that, because you can do a lot of interesting things there. Yeah, and in the end, it's really important also then to think about, like, especially in effects, like what do you want from this effect? Because what happens if you're in objects, if you're at a reverb, like a classic reverb you would use on one object, the object would not sound reverberated, but it would sound far away, because the sound and the reverb is just coming from this location. This is why it's super critical, like if you want to create a sense of space, that you have 3D reverbs, because then you're putting a sound in a reverb at one location, and then the whole room is reacting depending on where the sound is coming from, how much sound. If you're just adding reverb to that sound, it will just ultimately move away from you, but you will not get a sense of room. Yeah, and like I said, renders are really not important anymore. To dive a little in what happens here, or why I'm here. Like, this used to be a Fraunhofer renderer in here, and this was basically in every planetarium in Germany, and they for long were the only ones having this magical piece of hardware and software that can do those 3D rendering, but it ultimately wasn't really a good thing because it was kind of a science project, not really a product, and the maintainers were, if the doctor people were leaving the institute, then the knowledge went away, and so it crashed all the time. And in the last actually 8 years, a lot happened in this rendering space, because there are a lot of other renderers. There's open source stuff like the IEM tools I'm you're seeing here now that are from the Uni in Graz, which are really amazing and working really well. Also in a live environment, you can totally use them. And yeah, there has been a kind of democratization of the whole thing technically, because you can do anything if you know how. The technology is there. You can pay for renderers that are from affordable to really expensive to open source and free, and you can also mix and see what's working best for you in the end. Yeah. So in this space we have 49 speakers in the dome in the top. Quickly. So they have basically two different decoders that. Oh, okay. Live presentations. Okay, doesn't really matter. But in the end, you will see you add your points here. For ambisonics decoding, it's really important that you always have a full geometrical shape. So what you can do if your speakers are not a full geometrical shape, you then add phantom speakers in the bottom. And here you can then say, you can put in the coordinates for it, and this will then ultimately decode the ambisonic sphere. I don't necessarily want to go too in depth with ambisonics because that's kind of pretty technical there, and this is something you can totally read or can have a conversation at another point. But yeah. Do you want to hear something else? Yeah, okay. Then, no, please don't. So, this is also part of the concert we did. I broke it because... Yeah. And those of you who actually looked closely on the rest of the dome, this is kind of a really amazing gimmick Joseph actually helped us to achieve. Because this is not the pre-rendered content to whatever I'm playing back here. This is actually live generated in Touch Designer right now. Because those IEM tools, actually, what they do, all of them are OSA capable. So you can, this energy visualizer, this basically splits the whole sphere in fields and measures the volume on this field. And then it transmits all the data to Touch Designer. And then Joseph does his magic with it. Maybe he can say some more things about it right now or later.
Hello from back here. I will gladly present some of the things we've worked on together. First of all, again, huge thanks to all the people involved, especially Georgios, who kind of started all of these cooperations. So the OSC data Timo was talking about arrives in Touch Designer as this kind of unorganized chop, and I just used the geometry and the vertex shader, mostly a pixel shader, to convert this into a top that mainly, if you can play some music again, Timo. Yeah, so the music the information you see right there on the energy visualizer on Timo's screen is then translated to a top in Touch Designer that represents also the volume at each position in our dome and can then pretty much be used for whatever we like. I right here have a particle system running that is only two-dimensional. I must say that I'm very pleased about how well it translates to the dome. And it's just something we set up as a test and doesn't really react directly to the information we get from the audio system, but after all, we do have some kind of interaction. I think you saw the heat map before. I think it's not aesthetic, so it doesn't really give you too much of a feeling of the immersiveness of this medium. But yeah, we do have the information from the audio system, and we can do whatever we like in Touch Designer with it. That's kind of up to you. And again, just an invitation to all of you to get creative and think about what's possible with this insane medium. And I think we had several moments today where I just really want to say how important it is to have this real-time video input in the dome that the people who are working here, especially George, made possible over the last couple of years, because as Carlos was also saying, it is extremely difficult to develop something for this medium, but now we have the possibility to actually develop it right in here. So if we see that the colors are not really precise, if we see that something is off, we can just tweak it live, and that's extremely valuable.
Yeah, before seeing colors, this is a complete re-render progress that takes 1.5 days, because depending on the length of the sequence, it's single frame PNGs that needs to be rendered, and so this whole iterative process can take months. And now this is just one fader away. One small thing I want to add when we start talking about the connection of audio and visuals. This also, by the way, goes in the other direction too, because all the encoders, which ultimately positions the audio, can also be remotely controlled from whatever sensor, whatever you have in the end, and but I can also send data. And this is kind of an interesting thing if you start to think about it, because using this heat map is kind of, okay, we know the volume state of the whole thing, but there's no storytelling with it. The storytelling starts when we have also the position of the objects, because this is, the heat map doesn't know about the objects. It's just kind of a representation of the state of the dome. But if we track the positions of the objects here, which are sent as well, and maybe then also have an audio analyzer that sends OSC data, so we know the where the objects are, and we know what they are doing, how they are sounding, then we can like create really interactive pieces. And then the next level is, I had a really interesting talk with Wieland about it, that he tried one time like really accurate audio tracking in Touch Designer visuals, and it immediately felt like super boring, like Windows Media Player. So it's also important like to think about, okay, not just connect everything and then it will be cool, but like the randomness of it and the patterns human brains want to see and want to find, and if it's too easy, it gets super boring. So finding meaningful ways after we get the data to do something with it, I think that's the really like where it starts, where I think it gets really interesting. And this is also ultimately like why we're having the Spatial Media Lab, so we don't have to talk about like connecting what's the technology, how to connect it. Let's talk about what to do with the data, meaningful and interesting. Yeah, and I think for that we can have some questions if there are. Oh, Joseph, did you want to? No.
I just wanted to propose to maybe dim the lights, play some music, and just give the people a moment to actually feel the medium,
Yeah.
because I think it's very different if it's dark in here.
there questions? It's very hard to see something in here. Well, thank you for this kind of moving end to this whole thing. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Georgios, for making this possible. This is still taking my breath, how fast we got to this point and how willing everybody is. Thank you, Timo. Thank you, Josef. Wieland an der Technik. Thank you, Derivative, for your support. Thank you, Marcos, for making this possible. And dear community, as always, everybody is really welcome to do a presentation. Today we were a bit domey, but everybody's welcome. Whatever you have to say, please write to us, and we're happy to hear what you have to say and to advance this wonderful community together. Usually we always go to the bar next door. I kind of messed it up to find a good bar around here. There is no good bar around here, it seems, but Timo knows one.
Wohnzimmer ist ja um die Ecke. Helmholtzplatz.
Maybe Wieland can put that on the visor. So anybody of you who wants to still drink and hang out and chat together, there would be the place that we recommend. We unfortunately have to stay here and take all the tech down again and can't enjoy the fun with you. So please get in contact about the next roundtable, which will be happening end of February, and we'd be happy to see all of you again. Thank you.